Okay, so I was asked a while ago to do some more pictures showing exactly what this truck is, what I've done with it, etc. and so on. Excuse the dirt. It does get used, it's not a shelf queen. So I'm just going to do a little video to show a bit of what it is, what I've done to it, etc. and so on, just to give people a bit better of an idea. Essentially it's based off an scx10. It's turned into a 6-wheel drive, full-time 6x6 of course. It's got a few small upgrades, nothing major. Metal links, metal C-hubs, metal knuckles, possibly metal lockouts, can't remember. I actually haven't paid that much attention to what's underneath it. That's sort of last on the list. When I got the truck, it was the cab chassis. The cab is from AMX Rock Truck. It's full metal. Every single one of those bolts, unfortunately, is functional. So when I painted the cab was originally that colour there. When I painted the cab to suit the tray I built, I had to take out all of these, all of these, all of those, all around the front window, the windows on the other side, take that out, and then I realised that of course I want the bolts the same colour as the cab. So I had to put all the bolts back in, paint it, take them all out, put everything back together. Essentially it took me about 5 hours to paint the thing. The tray, balsa wood. It's looking a bit haggard now, might be time for a touch up. Balsa woods for the floor. I've scored it to make, give it some proper lines for the tray, make it a bit more realistic. The sideboards, they're also balsa wood. The tray itself is actually made out of 1.5mm styrene sheet. It's almost like a plastic. I'm sure there's another name for it, which some of you guys probably know, but I don't. The gun tray, I've got a couple of magnets down there. That's just balsa wood, plastic guns. Ammo crate, balsa wood again, that stays in there. That's just double-sided tape down. So are these. So are these. That's actually glued to the tray. That's actually from a Tamiya semi-truck. So let's have a look at underneath. If I'm lucky, I can actually get that to balance. That's one thing I haven't worked on yet. I keep tinkering with the idea of making that a tipper, and it's just all sorts of nonsense that I can't be bothered dealing with at the moment. 2S lipo, that's more than enough for these rock crawlers. I know some people like to put big brushless systems in it, but for me it just doesn't make sense. I want to be able to plough through water and not panic that I'm going to wreck my lovely motor. So I've put in a 80 turn RC4 drive motor, and that's essentially just to handle the near 7 kilos that it weighs now. I mean, it's a bit of a fatty. But that's good. I want it to be fat. I want it to weigh lots so that it pushes itself down into the ground, therefore making it a better crawler. Move the battery right to the back of the chassis. This gives you a good idea of how the links, etc. are done. The rear tail shaft is just a plastic one. The front are all metal. At some stage I'll upgrade that. Hasn't been huge on the list. I've rebuilt the thing about 4 or 5 times since I got it, due to when it was previously done, it wasn't quite done right in a sense. The centre diff used to lift itself up, which isn't very handy. I'll see if I can prop up that rear, just so that it doesn't fall back down on us. Right. Toolboxes, they're made from styrene as well. I've made this one, left it open, so that you can get to your chain, tyre brace, wheel brace rather, that sort of stuff. So it's actually functional. The stuff in here you can use to get yourself out, etc. and so on. Again, it's styrene. They're screwed to the sliders. I tried to make this truck so that it was easy to work on, easy to live with, and easy to use. The ESC at the moment, I've just changed this, hence it's not actually taped down. I've just changed to the AE2. Previously it had a little cheap hobby wing one that was crap. It was terrible for this truck. So I've changed that for something a bit better. I do have, if I flip it up on its side, yes, it has taken a tumble. Not a very big one to be fair, because I I baby this truck. I put a lot of time into it. So you can see they're basically the hop-ups you see up the front, metal links, drive shafts, no lockouts, so I was wrong there. That might be something for the list later, but it's not hugely important. Metal links at the back, nothing fancy, they'll do the trick. When it comes down to it, this isn't a show truck, it's something I'm trying to build so that I've got a cool truck for myself, essentially. Your typical actual receiver box, all the goodies in there. Light kit plugged straight into the receiver. I have put a switch on the other sides over here. I'll show you in a bit of detail shortly. There's actually a battery, I think. When I say battery, it's a fake battery from a Exoterra. Behind that I've put a switch for the lights, so it all runs through the receiver box to the lights, so I can actually switchable light switch behind there, and it's reasonably well hidden. This gives you a good idea of how beefy the cab is. You've got chassis extensions that go straight onto your normal rails. Then it's just business. The whole thing's metal. There's just no messing around with it. I think at the moment this truck weighs about 7 kilos. Unfortunately, it's only going to get heavier because I've got a bad habit of I keep building new things and having more ideas, and I keep bolting more stuff to it, and then it turns out to be a fatty. But you get that on the big jobs, as they say. I have done, it's a bit hard to see, but I have done a full interior, hence the little driver there. Interior is a bit hard to see due to reflection. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. When I do shine a light through the top, you can actually see it. I've also done an interior in the back. You can see through there the extinguisher. There's a gun rack up there. Bit of a control panel, which I sort of cheated. That's actually the dashboard sticker from a Tamiya Globeliner truck. Everything in here is made styrene. It's nothing store-bought. I mean, obviously apart from the stickers. I'm not that clever. I have to excuse the dirt on the windows. I've really got to clean this truck. Actually, what I really have to do is get out and drive it. It's been far too long. No, it's too hard to see, unfortunately. Gives you a little bit of an idea. I even put cup holders in it. Didn't need them, wanted them. That's how it goes. Like I say, this gives you a bit of a rough idea of what this truck is and what it's about. It's a fun build. I've never built anything like that before. And when I got it cab chassis, it just looked too bland. There wasn't enough there, so I wanted to do something that really made it worth having this big, beefy cab sitting there. When it was just cab chassis, sure, the cab looked cool, but there was nothing at the back, so there was sort of nothing to go with. Speaking about my little battery and the light switch, etc., that's the Exoterra battery with light switch behind it for the cab lights. I do have plans in the future to put tail lights on it. I won't do indicators or anything like that because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, rock crawling, left, right, indicators flick all the time, doesn't look very realistic. I've tried to go with a few nice scale details. That's a bazooka crate, explosions, it sort of all makes sense. What else? I was thinking of going twin motors, but I don't think it'll fit underneath my tray. And yes, I did paint the motor cover the same colour as the truck. I've actually spent probably more money on paint than I have anything else at the moment. I think I'm nearly at $150 just in paint, but I guess that's what you get when you paint something this big. I'm looking at doing more detail on the side of my tray. That's sort of been put on the back burner for a bit. I'm just, at the moment, making it nicer to drive, easier to drive, and just enjoying the truck. It's nice to have such a cool rig to go out and crawl with. I've had a 10.2, the normal scx10, some cheapy rock crawlers, etc. This thing's really cool to take out because of how scale it is, because of how heavy it is. It reacts different to your normal rock crawler. So I hope this gives you a bit of an idea of what it's all about for those that want a bit of a sticky beak underneath it. You know, it shows you how it's made, what it is. Oh, that's an axial part. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. You guys will know. That's what I use to mount my tray to the rest of the chassis. This tray extension is actually a plastic add-on, which is handy because I can actually bend out the end of it and put that on the inside, a couple of bolts. That's what my tray is held on with. Usually that screws in more, and I've got a nut either side, but I've just, what did I do? I took that off the tray, I took the cab off, and I changed the ESC, the receiver. Just some stuff that's a bit simpler and easier and better to use, essentially. So there she is. That's the big fat truck. If you guys have got any comments or any suggestions, etc. and so on, or questions, feel free to drop them down below, and I'll do the best I can to answer them.